Hi guys, I'm Desiree.
And I'm Justine.
And this is Sippin and Dishin.
We sit down with our friends and get the latest dish, all while sipping on some yummy drinks.
We talk about the things in life that make you want to laugh or cry or even temporarily lose your shit.
We're real women.
This is real talk. And of course it's real drinks. I'm recording. Do I have your consent?
Yes.
No. Well, get out of here. Welcome to another episode of Sippin and Dishin. Today we have Becky with us.
Hi, Becky.
Hi. So I know Becky through my daycare. Both of our daughters are both named Ellie, and they went to the same daycare together. And she agreed to be on our podcast.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was very excited when you said that you wanted to be on it. I was probably overly excited when you told me that, but
it's been a while since I feel like, had
like
somebody
yeah, like an in-person. Mm-hmm.
Well, I listened to your guys' podcast on my way to work, so I was like, I get annoyed. I told her that I get annoyed when I'm listening because I want to like respond to you guys. And I'm like, And I'll start talking in my car and I'm like, no. And I'm like, by yourself, dude. By yourself. Like, it's a podcast.
Just have to get on Instagram. I'm going to say.
They can't hear you. There's been a couple times where I'm like almost going to text her, but then I'm like, I'm listening to a podcast from 3 months ago. It would be weird to just send her a text and be like, I disagree with you.
Here's why you're wrong. I've had time to make a list.
That eyebrow makeup is not the best. This is what is better. Or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was like almost like my own fangirl. I was like, oh my God, someone listens to me. a little over the top, but it was very exciting. So tonight we are drinking some Blackberry Margaritas by my bartender husband.
Yeah. Go
They
Kirk.
are so good.
Delicious.
It's literally just a normal margarita with smushed blackberries.
Okay,
That's
but
all.
That's pretty good though, because I feel like I wouldn't personally like
Totally. Do
get
that
in there and smush them up. So
No,
that's
like,
great. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I went out of my way to get like the little muddler or whatever. I don't know if that's a technical term. Like thing that mushes the blackberries. I had to buy one just so I could have this drink.
Because you have a bartender husband.
Yeah, and he'll
He
do
really
it for me
should
every
just do that
time.
for a part-time job.
Every
Totally.
time. Like if I ask him for a drink, he'll look up the recipes and make it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And because he's really into whiskey, I told him to find a drink with whiskey. And even though I cannot drink whiskey, I don't know if I have it in me, that I might drink.
Fire.
Like poison peroxide.
But has he found one yet?
No, he's looking it up. So if he can find one with whiskey that I like, I will drink it.
Okay.
He has
We'll see.
plenty to spare. So.
Yeah. Well,
I know. So Becky, did you prepare 2 truths and a lie?
I did.
Bum, bum.
I got anxiety all of a sudden.
You worried you're going to be wrong? All
There's
right.
a 90% chance.
Okay, well, you got like a 33. I mean, I guess.
Somehow I would make that a 90% chance.
Okay. Okay. So I went to the Junior Olympics in roller skating. I was my husband's first girlfriend. And I've had the same best friend for 24 years.
I feel like those are all kind of believable.
Those are. And the only one that sounds a little unbelievable feels
the
like,
skating.
yeah. And it feels like,
Because it's
That
so
might-
off, it's possible.
because normally when they have one that seems a little like out there, they have 2 out there's. You know what I mean? So then you're like, ooh, is it that out there? Then it turned out to be the completely normal one. So your strategy is interesting with just the one thing. I feel like I don't know. I would like to say it was the girlfriend thing, but I was my husband's first girlfriend too, and he was my first boyfriend, like serious one. So it's possible.
And what was the last one?
The roller skating thing.
The what?
No, so it was roller skating, first girlfriend, and then I've had the same best friend for 24 years.
Well, that's believable
I believe
too.
that. I believe that for sure. Dang it.
I'm gonna go with the one that is possibly. Wait. Oh, never mind. I was gonna ask how old you are.
That's cheating.
I know.
That's cheating. So I want to say it's the roller skating one only because I know you hurt yourself roller skating recently, and it would make me to think if you went to the Olympics that you wouldn't have hurt yourself.
And she never specified if she was in it or just went.
Oh,
That is
like an
true.
audience member.
Boom. Okay. How about we do 50-50? I'm gonna say boyfriend.
And I'll say the roller skates.
I was actually his second girlfriend, not his first.
Damn.
But I did go to the Junior Olympics when I was 7 in roller skating.
Dang.
I
so
did
you
not know they had Junior Olympics in roller skating.
They did, or do, or yeah.
Do they still have it?
I don't know. Yes,
Dang.
yeah. There's because I know people that go to Worlds, so yeah, they have the Olympics or whatever.
Junior Olympics. That sounds exciting.
I was second grade in pairs.
How do you even sign up for something like that?
I don't even know how we started. My sister did competitive roller skating, and she's 8 years older than me. And then I got into it because
She was into it.
she was into it, and my parents were like, "Well, if we're already here, we might as well sign you up for something."
Did
And
you enjoy it though?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I had a really good time until it, and as soon as it wasn't fun anymore, I was like, I want to play softball. And my mom's like, that's cheaper. Okay. So, I mean, I was 6 with like my skates, I think were like $600 or $700
Dang.
skate boots. That's
Man.
a lot. And think about
That's
how long
hella.
your kids' boots or shoes fit
Right.
them.
Not very long at that
No.
age.
Yeah.
And I bet you
Dang.
the resale value isn't that
There's
high
nothing.
either.
And we're talking like 1990, 91. It's
That's
not
a
like you
lot of
could
money.
post them on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Like,
yeah.
keep that shit.
yeah.
I felt dumb. I did not know that competitive like roller skating.
I didn't.
was a
I mean, I
thing.
know roller derby
Yeah.
was a thing.
Yeah,
but
it's
still
just
wanna
like
do
ice
that.
skating, but on wheels.
'Cause you said in pairs, so did you have like a little?
I did
dance
have
number?
I had a partner. His name was Mikey. Shout out
Did
to
you get a-
wherever he is. in
Did you get a
life.
medal?
I did. I have several.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
I feel like I'm gonna Google this
I know.
later
I
because
could-
I'm
I could-
interested.
I can like have my mom send us a picture
That
of
would
me
be
in my
awesome.
costumes because I wore like
Okay,
I mean, it
so
would
do
make
you
sense.
still have the skills?
no, I broke my arm roller skating on Halloween, so no. I mean, I can skate better than the average person, but I still fell. So
I mean, but everybody falls. Like, can you do like a
no, I can't do
like
any.
a leg lift or like
No.
Leg lift.
I don't know.
Like
No.
the squat with the leg up,
Yeah,
right?
like
No,
or like dance. Like
probably maybe dance a little bit, but I could skate faster than everyone else on the rink when we went on Halloween, but that was about it.
You're like, I'm faster than all these other adults.
Yeah.
let's also be real and say that it's awesome that the skating rink was even open in October.
Uh,
I miss it.
private party.
So,
I didn't even know you could have a private party.
yeah.
I would have done that.
really? Wow.
Yes.
So that means you're on like the 4-wheeled ones, right?
Yes.
Okay, I cannot do those to save my life. Last time I attempted it, it was at like my cousin's kid's birthday, obviously pre-COVID. Because when you had one at the roller skate, I learned my lesson and I didn't
Oh,
do it
that's
at
right.
all.
Uh-huh.
But I had fell on my fucking face, just face planted. Like my whole side of my face was sore for days. And I was like, I guess my roller derby
So you
dreams
turned them
have.
in and got
Better.
rollerblades.
Then
No.
your wrist that was broken for
Yeah,
2
I can't believe you
months.
did that. Did that happen in the roller skating ring? Yeah. Oh shit. So I guess being faster than them didn't matter.
my husband fell and I looked and I said, "Look, Ellie, Daddy fell."
Ka-choom.
And as soon as those words were out of my mouth, my feet went up and I went to catch myself and I stood up and I was like, that doesn't feel right. And I was like, this really hurts.
Kinda
And then all of a
intense.
sudden I'm like, my hand's shaking and it's really swollen. And I was like, I can't move my fingers.
Oh,
And we
man.
went to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
Dang
Yeah.
COVID times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so
Man.
awful.
It was awful. It was
That
really,
sounds
really
fun though
awful.
to do.
The skating was
skating.
fun. We had a good time until I broke my arm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool though. That's a
Yeah.
pretty cool thing to pull out of your pocket. I don't think
Uh-huh.
I got any cool stuff like that to pull out of my
Me
pocket.
neither.
Like I was in the Olympics. No. It's like I was a cheerleader, and
Yeah.
I went to Disneyland.
That's pretty good though.
I was good enough for Disneyland. We literally got in like not argument, but like a heated discussion with our husbands because they're like cheerleading's not a sport.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm super offended by that because I have a case of fucking trophies up there that beg to differ. I'd like to see you perform at the King's game and lift heavy ass bitches above your head. I'd like to see it.
It's unfortunate though, but people say that. I mean, like I said, the
How?
school
You
said
have
it
to have
wasn't.
endurance. You have to have
Yeah,
strength.
they're claiming it's not like a sport right now, right? So it can't like
You can't get any scholarships and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Bullshit.
But I believe it's a sport,
I'd like to
too.
see some of those people do what I did while I was cheerleading
serious.
for 7 years of my life. They're calling it not a sport. Fuck them. Anyways, let's talk about your topic. Now that I'm all salty as hell.
Fired up.
But now we're talking about autism.
Woo woo! It's April, Autism Acceptance Month.
I know.
Perfect.
Perfect timing,
I did
right?
not even think about that. That's perfect.
It is Autism Acceptance Month in April. You should know that. Okay.
You should.
better be like supporting that shit.
Accept all.
Yeah, because it's Autism Acceptance. Because originally they called it
Autism awareness, but acceptance.
Yes.
We don't need you to become aware that they're autistic. We want you to be accepting.
Because like at this point, everyone knows
What autism is.
and it's around.
You just need to accept that people are different and not everyone sees the world in the same way.
And I think that's just important in life. Like
100%.
like even with your own relationship, no one's gonna have the same values as you. No one's gonna have this and that. Like everyone's gonna have a different way of thinking.
100%.
Theirs is just more mental. Like it's just how their brain works. So instead of it being a different opinion, it's just
They just process things differently.
if you don't know, Becky's daughter.
I am a mom of a little girl that has autism.
Yep. I feel like right now there's a whole bunch of shit about like correct termage like that I've been
Yeah,
seeing
I need to,
everywhere.
I'm trying to be very aware of not doing like the diagnosis first.
Yeah,
that
they want it the person first. Like
person
you're
first.
autistic.
My daughter has autism as opposed to my autistic daughter. That
Yeah.
she is my daughter first, and her diagnosis comes second.
Oh, I heard it's the
okay.
opposite.
See, that's where it gets
Like by
crazy.
actually because like I stopped like I do follow other autistic moms because like that's
Yeah, no,
obviously
totally.
my
I follow 'em.
perspective when it comes to autism because that's the only role I have is that I am a mom to an autistic individual. I'm not autistic. I will never know
Totally.
what it's like to be in this world as an autistic individual. And so that was very therapeutic at first because it was other moms that I could relate to that have the same fear because like even though I'm not an autistic person, we all know what it's like to have someone you love diagnosed and to care for someone. And I feel like sometimes these actually autistic people don't give a fucking break to some of these badass moms that raised you. I feel like you're not giving us fucking credit.
I think there's a lot of talking down to or like you don't know, so you can't. This can't be hard for you because you're not autistic, and you're like,
Oh
I've
my
seen
God,
that.
who is saying that?
Actually,
There-
autistic people, they
there is a
seem
lot of
anti-
things. There's like
parents.
saying that I'm like a mom of autism or I'm an autism mom would be like a negative thing to them.
Yes, I saw that too, and that kind of pissed me off a little bit because I don't have autism, but autism affects my life.
100%.
It affected my parenting. It affects my other child. Like autism is a big part of my
our
life.
life is different. I mean, I think the moment that you hear that diagnosis, that like, I don't want to say that I mourned my child, but there's definitely like, I think as a parent, you kind of have this vision of what parenthood and what your child's life is going to look like. And then
I think it's very common.
you get this
too.
diagnosis and it throws a wrench in that. You're like, will my child get married? Will they have children? What
Will they ever leave my house?
will they ever leave my house?
Will they mature?
My question is, am I going to be trying to buy LOL dolls off eBay in 10 years for my 16-year-old's birthday party?
Because that's her desire.
Because that is her
Thing.
obsession.
That's weird.
And
to
we
think that
don't-
LOL is going to be nostalgic someday.
Well, it wouldn't even be about nostalgic. Like a lot of times with autistic individual, there's one thing that they're kind of
No, I
obsessed
know.
with.
Yeah,
I'm just
but, like-
saying when you say that, it's like because you can't find them at the store because they're going to be so old.
But is there going to be a time where I'm literally scouring websites, going to shady alleys to be like, I'll give you $20 to buy this LOL doll because
So funny. I didn't even think
that's
about
what
that.
my kid is into.
And their preferred items no longer easily accessible. Fuck. That sounds
Buy
awful.
in bulk now.
Yeah, I follow a woman online, and her daughter is really into Blue's Clues. She just turned 18.
Good thing Blue's Clues is still around.
And
say it is
good thing. She is very lucky that they just like redid the show, and there's a new person that lives with Blue. I don't know their name. I think it's Josh.
I think it is Josh.
Only
I've seen
because
it.
she's been talking about it on her website. But that they're lucky that Blue's Clues stuff is back out in the stores so they can buy her new stuffed animals and the toys. This is an 18-year-old girl whose favorite gift for her birthday was a stuffed Blue. And the fact that the creator of Blue's Clues called her. But
Wow, that's kind of cool.
That's super cool. That's
I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
the voice of Blue called her.
Oh my
And they got to like
gosh.
bark on the phone together. It was a super cute little
That
story.
is
But
That is very cute.
I
like,
understand the premise
you
behind the story,
wonder,
but that's pretty cute.
Yeah.
you wonder, like, is that going to be me? I look at my daughter. She got diagnosed 14 months ago. And I wonder, like, is she going to move out? Mm-hmm. Am I going to have a 7-year-old for the rest of my life?
I'm very concerned about the maturing thing. That's my biggest
and
fear.
I feel like that's one of the things that, like, I don't voice it a lot because you get a lot of people that, what are you talking about? She's going to mature. Ugh. And you're like, you don't know. Yeah. We don't know when she'll stop or if she's going to stop maturing. And that LOL dolls are going to be our life for the rest of
I think that's people that aren't like experiencing the life as an autistic parent, having an autistic child. They want to be positive. They want to be like, oh no, it's not going to be like that for her. It's different. Like, but that's not helpful. No. Like, I literally had to have my mom ended up going to her room and I had to leave without anyone saying goodbye. But her favorite thing to me, and if you're listening and you know someone that has an autistic child, don't say this shit. I'm just letting you know, it's trigger for me. Do not tell me this is part of God's plan and he would never give me anything that I can't handle, because fuck God, because I disagree. I mean, sorry, dude. You could have given me better cards where I'm a little less stressed out. And then what was the other one where, so it's God would never give you more than you can handle. And, well, obviously, I hate the one where, no, everything's going to turn out fine. You don't know that. Mm-hmm. Okay? Your perfect little neurotypical kids moved out one day. I don't know that. I don't know what my life is. And sometimes I see my future and I just see me and my L dog and it's just going to be us forever. Like, that's what I see happening. And until I'm proven different, that's what my future is. And, like, you don't know. So stop telling me everything's going to be okay, because you don't know.
You don't know. No one knows. I think the hardest one I've gotten is, no, she's not.
Like, no, she's not autistic?
Yeah.
Because you're a fucking doctor or her parent?
Multiple people say that. And that one was hard. No, she's not. I'm like, I'm sorry. Are you a neurologist? Mm-hmm. Because we just spent 5 hours with a neurologist whose whole job is to tell us yes or no. Mm-hmm.
And that's then as bad as she doesn't look autistic.
Oh, yeah.
I hear that one more time in my fucking life.
Well, if she is autistic, she'll be high functioning. Well, thank you. Because I know that, thank you. She speaks. Yeah, I'm aware.
Mm-hmm. It literally, that's kind of what it feels like. If your kid is autistic and they talk, they're classified as high functioning. Yeah. If they don't talk, they're low functioning. And I don't like that. Like, no. You calling my child high functioning is limiting my struggles that I face. Yes. The struggles my child is facing. Don't do that to her, because you don't understand what she's going through.
You don't know what
and it's very dismissive.
Very. That she talks, so you're fine. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, but she still can't process, I was telling you guys earlier, like, she can't handle not being first at playing a game. Mm-hmm. If we play Go Fish and
it wrecks her fucking life.
On the ground, crying, tears streaming down her face. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go last. I'm like, we're going in a circle. It doesn't matter. Like,
everyone gets a turn.
You're still going, but, like, it will ruin a game that she enjoys playing because she didn't get to play it her way. It's hard. Yeah.
And you're saying 14 months ago, so that's a pretty
I was just
late
gonna say,
diagnosis as well.
Your daughter is 7, and yours, we know. So yours, you were diagnosed 2 years ago, year and a half ago?
2 years ago.
Okay.
3?
She had just turned 4.
Okay.
So it's I guess it's almost 2 years in June. Okay. It'll be 2 years in June.
So then your daughter was just diagnosed at around 6-ish, 5.5, 6-ish.
She's just turned 6.
Okay.
Yeah. On my husband's birthday.
So just
happy birthday.
Yeah, all right. Happy birthday. Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
So then what was your process? Because I know Desiree's a little bit and you can share. But what was your process
of getting diagnosed?
Of how you knew and how it started, and like, because I heard the struggle and it's ridiculous.
It is a struggle.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm curious of how your struggle was.
Ours was similar to Desiree's in a regard of, like, it took us a long time. At 2, we took her to a well baby checkup, and I remember just sitting in this office, and our pediatrician was out on maternity leave, so we had another doctor, and he did the normal thing and he's like, hey, does she have a lovey? How many words is she saying? And I was like, oh no, she doesn't really have a lovey. She has me. Like I am her lovey. Like she doesn't have a toy. She has her mommy. And he's like, okay. And he's like, how many words does she say? And I was like, oh, she says, like 13. I was so proud. I didn't know that wasn't the right answer. And he's like, she should say 50. And I was like, oh, but her 13 words are big. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, she says sister, who's our dog. And she says cheese, and she'll say watch. And I felt like those were
big words.
Not
like mom or dad.
Yeah. And she, at the time, she was saying dada, and I think she had a word for grandpa. And he like left, and he came back, and he's like, so I'm going to give you a paper because we think she's autistic and you need to get her tested. You guys have a great day. Bye.
God.
I remember how hot that exam room was, and I remember being sweaty before he said that, and as soon as he said it, it was just like my world collapsed. Going in the car and just like sobbing. And thank God my husband happened to be at that doctor's appointment with me, because I don't know what I would have done had I been just her and I. I went back a month later to her pediatrician, like her first day back from maternity leave, and was like
knocking on her door.
Oh my gosh, I was there, and I was like, I need a second opinion. I wasn't happy with how he said this. I didn't like, and she was like, she's not looking at me. She won't make eye contact with me. She doesn't have enough words. She's like, I have the same concern. She's like, I'm sorry he didn't deliver it in a nice way.
Bedside manner.
Yeah.
Talking to another human being about their child.
Like, just throw it out there, my kid's autistic, and then walk away.
Just
like, handed me the paper and was like, by the way, we'll send you something in the mail. Like, okay. So we got her tested, or we filled out the form. I'm sure Desiree had to fill out that.
Many of forms.
I hate those forms.
They are so awful.
I hate any test or questions where you ask me to rate my child.
Yeah, it's literally
it doesn't. It's awful. So we fill it out. We get a phone call, I think, maybe a letter, and they said, your child's not autistic. We don't need to see her.
I don't know how many forms I got back where I didn't need another form. Yeah. She met what she needed to.
And I was like, okay. And I think part of it is like denial, or like you don't want something to be wrong, so you're
just accept
you're
it.
willing to accept when they're like,
a doctor told you. So
I was like, okay, what do I know? They were like, oh, she has sensory processing disorder and she has a speech delay. And they're like, those two things combined often look like autism. And I was like, okay, sweet. I like that diagnosis. No one wants to hear autism. Like, that's not something you ask for. And then time progressed, and we got her in, early intervention, and we were doing speech therapy. And I got her into a speech therapy program through the school district when she was 3. And I remember asking the speech therapist. So I had mentioned to her speech therapist, I really think like there's something more going on. I think she might be autistic. And she's like, why? And I was like, well, she really gets weird about noises. And I was like, we can go somewhere that's loud. We can go to Chuck E. Cheese, and she's in her element. Like, not bothered at all by the lights and the noise and the sound. I was like, but we can go in the bathroom at Target, and I am literally forcing her to dry her hands. Like, I would have to like loop my leg around her legs from the noise of the dryers. And Targets are the worst. I don't know if Ellie has problems with them, but Target's bathrooms are the worst. But she like will refuse to go potty in public because the bathrooms are too noisy. She doesn't like the flushing because
it scares out.
It's one thing when you can control the flush, but if it's an automatic one, you can't control that. And then if people in the stall next to you are flushing,
or God forbid it flushes while she's on it.
Oh my Lord!
One time lost her shit.
Oh yeah,
about fucking died. Flew off that toilet.
Yeah,
Freaked her out.
It's not the business. And she kind of blew me off and was like, no, she just has ADHD, I think. But they won't diagnose her yet because she's too little.
Right. I feel like I'm listening to my own story.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, you know what you're talking about. You're, a speech therapist. You're someone I trust your opinion. This is kind of what you do. You work with the special needs kids. So I thought,
you see autism,
we would be good. And she kind of blew me off, and I was like, I'm really worried. I want to get her tested, and I should have put it in writing, and I know that now, that anything with a school district you need in writing. Because when I verbally said something to her about wanting her tested, it's not official unless you put it in writing.
Oh my gosh.
So they didn't get her tested. Because I was like, well, I'm worried about school. And she goes, oh, well, I was like, I'm worried about the bathroom blowers and her not being willing to go potty at school. And she's like, they have private bathrooms in kindergarten classrooms. And I was like,
So?
okay. But I'm a first-time mom. And you kind of want to accept that your kid is typical. And you don't want your kid to be different. And so I was like, okay, fine, it's cool. I'll trust you. And then she starts kindergarten. And we have this amazing teacher. And I sit down with her for a parent-teacher conference. And she's like, I love your kid. She's the joy of my classroom. I smile every time I see her. She goes, but I think she's on the spectrum. And I was like, okay. And I was like, you're not the first person to tell us this. Like, you could tell that when she's telling me, she's like, I don't want to be the one to tell you this.
Say it,
but as a kindergarten teacher, that is part of her job, is to bring it up. And she's like, I'm not a I cannot diagnose, but I'm telling you that there are concerns. She definitely, was like, hey, here's my personal story with autism. Like, I do recognize it. Here's why. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I don't think you need to get her tested right now. Like, it's not affecting her at school. She's like, I don't see it affecting her educationally. She's like, but socially, she's not where she should be. And it's going to show soon. In a couple years, it might cause an issue. And I am very proactive, and I immediately emailed her doctor as soon as I got home. And I was like, hey, we need her tested for autism again. And her doctor has been amazing. Anytime I've been like, can we get her tested for this? She's like, here's your referral. Like, I think
So at that point, you did actually get to go get her actually tested, not on those pamphlet bullshit.
We got a pamphlet because that's how Kaiser rolls.
Yeah.
And then they called me from the mental health clinic or the autism clinic.
The one off at Rancho?
Yeah. They called me and they were like, and I explained, hey, I filled this, like, are you going to see her regardless? Because I filled this out 4 years ago.
Too,
I filled this out. And she was like, they didn't see you? And I was like, no. And she was like, I will see your child regardless. I'm not going to diagnose or not diagnose based on a piece of paper.
I was going to say, so you filled out a pamphlet and then they were like, oh no.
Yeah, the first time we filled out the pamphlet.
Those are wellness check ones that they do. Like,
well, and we did like
markers.
They do the normal ones, and then we filled out like a 5-page pamphlet that like our daycare provider had to fill some out.
That was the one that is right before the diagnosis.
Yes, and we filled that out when she was 2, and they were like, based on that, they were like, not autistic, you're fine. And then we filled it out again this time, and the lady was like, oh no, regardless of what this paper says, your child will have an appointment with us. And they did warn us.
They gave you the diagnosis.
We will give you the diagnosis that day. It unfortunately was on my husband's actual birthday. So we spent his birthday watching our kid get grilled.
That was pretty awful. We were there for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
It was a long, like, I am just eternally grateful that happened when it did, because 3 weeks later, the world shut down.
It probably would have been a lot harder to get it.
COVID hit. I mean, we went February 25th. Fuck COVID.
Fucking A, man.
So as soon as she got diagnosed that day, we called both of our parents, because obviously we had to drive from Rancho back out here. So we called both sets of parents, and his mom immediately was like, what can we do? We still love her. Like, there's nothing that's going to change who she is to us. What can we do to help her? Like, let us know. My mom's response
Oh, God.
was about the traffic.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, this traffic we're sitting in is really bad right now.
You're like, I just told you something huge. I'm glad to hear about your stupid traffic. I remember all that stuff too. Pretty similar. Not the traffic part.
That would be
That's definitely
And
new.
I think that we definitely like went out to dinner, which was not the plan for that day. And I think we both got really big cocktails, and we're just like, whatever.
At least you guys were like together.
Yeah.
I remember right after it happened, Ellie had fallen asleep in the back seat, and we were driving, and it's like our natural instinct was just to fight with each other, because Kirk thought it was like, wanted his second opinion. He was in denial way too long. And I'm like instantly thinking, what do I do now? Where do I go to get her into therapy? Like I'm instantly like trying to like rearrange my life to be able to do everything. And he's over like, this is like, you know, we need a second opinion. This ain't right. And then we're just like fighting right away. I think probably the first like 6 months was just us fighting about it.
That sucks. I think we both knew we'd been around enough kids. Our friends have kids that are the same age. We'd been around enough people that like we knew our daughter wasn't the same. She just wasn't. She didn't talk the way other kids talked. She didn't say mom or mama until she was 2.5, almost 3, and that was with 6 to 8 months of speech therapy before I even had a name. So like we both knew that something wasn't right. And when they were like, hey, here's what she does. And we're like, well, yeah, you're right. She won't actually play with people. She plays next to them. Or like she does.
Yeah. I remember like obviously got the same questionnaires, did them quite a few times. And they always came back like, oh, no, she's okay. And I think it was after my son was born. And I think he was like 6 months old. So I think at this point, Ellie was 2.5. And it was another checkup. And then the same idea with the doctor. We're like, oh, like, I think you should see this behavior specialist. And we go there. And obviously we get a sitter. And it's just us and Ellie. And he's talking to us. And Ellie didn't have a speech delay. She could talk really good. Not actual conversations because she scripted every single thing from her favorite TV shows. But
I can't tell you how many times she looked at me and said, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And that's all she, like, I would see
repetitive.
her. I would see her every morning, and all she would ever, it was very scripted of,
everything was.
hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? I'm like, what 2-year-old says, hi, how are you? Like, it's not, that's not a typical
she was
greeting
really
for a
early.
kid to say.
Yeah, she was talking really early and knew a lot of words. And so obviously like the number one sign for them to even consider your kid is normally the nonverbal shit.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case for us. She was very verbal and she knew lots of words and she would put them in perfect sentences from
Because
shows
she heard them.
Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of times that's what we got like dismissed over. But that only lasts so long. Stuff becomes more obvious as they become older. And so we go there and my Ellie's always struggled with behaviors, just full blown tantrums all the time. And we go there and he's like, oh, well, she'll look at me. There's no way she has like autism. She's just strong willed. Here's some parenting classes. We go to the parenting classes because, of course, like I'm a self-blamer. This has to be my fault. I'm an awful mom. Of course, my kid's a brat, like, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at this. And so, like, we just kind of did the parenting classes, tried to do some of the techniques, hoping. But stuff just got escalated, like, from 18 months to 2 years to 2.5. Like, everything got harder and harder. And she just wasn't getting it, or, like, just the behaviors just became a lot. And I have a little baby at this point and I was worried about him, and so I went and I contacted them. Like I went back and I tracked all my emails, like over the span of like my first concern till right before she actually got diagnosed. I reached out to them 15 times.
Wow.
Crazy.
About questioning the tiptoes, the nail biting, like all of these like anxious or like signs, the repetitiveness, the scripting, like so much stuff. And so finally, I think she was still 3 at this time. It was probably February before she got diagnosed. So she was still 3. And we went into the behavior specialist again because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, she just doesn't behave and she breaks a lot of stuff, and like I can't have a conversation with her. Everything's copied from shows. And he was about to send us home again, and he had like but give us some pamphlets about these different techniques to try. And then Ellie threw one of her fits. Like, her fits are their own category.
Yes.
And instantly, that's when we got the referral to get her tested for autism. And like, so of course, same process as you wait for the paperwork, you send it to your daycare provider, they get it, and then they finally schedule you like the in-person there. At this point, I have been told countless times that it's not autism. Countless times I've been told this. So I go in June. So from the initial February appointment. I finally get to go in June. We bring Ellie in, and it's a whole 5-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
They're doing all these things to see if she does it in the right order, and then there's like a social play aspect. There's all these different ones. And at this point, I had mentally in my mind kind of just thought it was rolling out autism, because everyone up to this has made me seem crazy for thinking that maybe it was that. And so then it's like when they sit you down on the couch, they have a little box of tissues, and then they're going to go over the report with you, and then your kid's just playing in the corner. And that's when they just like tell you.
Yeah.
That
They just throw it out there.
Yeah. And instantly I started crying. Like out of nowhere. Like it's like almost like I got bitch slapped by tears. And you're just like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's because in my mind, I was not ready to hear it. Because every other person in my fucking life, like all these professionals, told me it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And then you finally like hear that it is that. And all of your craziness, all of this stuff that you're being an over worried parent now feels validated.
Yeah.
And for like once in your life, the stuff you were concerned about, it is real. I'm not crazy. Like,
yes.
My child does have this going on. And if I wasn't so persistent, how much longer would it have went on with them not diagnosing her?
Yeah.
Like, I reached out to you 15 times over and over, and I just got shot down. They're with my kid for 5 hours, and they know she's autistic. You've been seeing my kid for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
you
should have been done.
denied it.
Yeah.
Like that, I just feel like they're wanting to avoid the idea that these kids have autism instead of just getting them tested and finding out for sure.
That was one thing I was really grateful for, is that like anytime I've asked her doctor, like, hey, I want to get her tested for ADHD, she's like, I'll mail you a packet. It'll be there in a week. Like everything that we've asked, she's been like, here's a referral. Here's your referral.
I feel like it's like that now. Like, I feel like once the diagnosis happened,
even
everything
before
else was so much easier.
Even
after that
before,
point.
like we were like, okay, well, we have this, this issue. Can we get a referral? The first time, autism. She's like, okay, we've got a referral out for you. Hey, I think this might be a problem. Here's a referral. Like, she was really good about being.
Well, luckily for me, the behavioral specialist that we worked with, he's retired, and I'm not a hateful person, but I'm
Not sad
glad
that he's not working.
I'm glad he's retired, because I don't know how many other people would have been dismissed like I am. I am lucky that I am one of those mama bears that don't take your answer.
Yeah.
And I keep going for it because I know my job better than you do. But that was a really hard process for me. Like,
it sounds like it's such a long process. You said you started around 2.5, and she recently got diagnosed, and she's 7. And you started too when she was young, and then couple years or whatever, it shouldn't be that long.
It shouldn't be that long. It is not untypical, however, for girls to get diagnosed later because the questions are about boys. It's, does your child pick up a car and spin the wheels instead
we're
of...
in, like, what,
My daughter doesn't like
2021?
cars.
But my daughter doesn't like cars. But
how am I supposed to know if she does that?
if you ask her if she pulls her LOL dolls apart into head, body, dress, shoes,
my Ellie does that too.
and then put them in order so that the doll is positioned correctly on the ground in the right order with head, body, outfit, and shoes, accessories for the correct doll, is like organized on the floor in like perfect little lines.
Yeah,
but they don't ask stuff like that.
But you would think, though,
You would.
like I said,
But
with
when-
2021, like,
when-
you think that they would have it together
when
by now.
autism was first discovered or
a
diagnosed,
boys
it was a
thing.
Mm-hmm.
boy thing because girls hide it.
It's because our brains are different. So I
Girls
don't know
are
why they
taught to
think-
mask things better. You know, my daughter, if she's out, you probably have never seen a fit at daycare, ever. I don't know if she's ever had a fit for her daycare provider, but I've had her out, and my best friend has looked at me when she was 2.5 and say, "I'm really surprised you still bring her out in public."
Okay, I'm sorry that was said.
And that was one of my kid would throw 45-minute fits. We went to the library one time. She fell asleep in the car and she'd taken her shoes off. I put them on while she was still sleeping, and I woke her up and got her out of the car. It was a 45-minute screaming fit because she woke up with her shoes on. I'm assuming, because once again, she couldn't tell me. She woke up with her shoes off, or she fell asleep with her shoes off her feet, and she woke up with them on. And it was a 45-minute screaming fit. We went to the grocery store once, the three of us, and she wanted to ride in the big part of the cart, which we let her do occasionally if we weren't buying, like, groceries. But we were grocery shopping, so we were like, no, honey, there won't be room. We need food in there. She threw a fit in the store, and we were like, okay, well, we're leaving the store. She screamed all the way home. I carried her inside, put her on the floor. She's still screaming. My husband almost made it home before she stopped. He went back to the store and grocery shopped. It was probably a 45-minute kicking and screaming, but she doesn't do that when she's out. She would never, like, that's not how she rolls. You wouldn't know that she's.
I still get anxiety about going to stores with my daughter.
I am better now, mainly because I know that she very rarely will throw those fits in public. But she's not a fit, or she doesn't really have like the tantrums. She shuts down. So I'm more likely to find her in a corner, curled up in a ball, literally just zero emotion on her face. Hard to get into her. Like, you can tell she just can't hear you.
Nope, mine's very vocal.
We are not.
We all
vocal.
can hear her. All the time. I always have, like, this is obviously before she was diagnosed, but I remember one time, I probably can't think of an event where I've gone alone with both my children anywhere since this one time. So Wyatt wasn't walking, so he couldn't have been more than like 8 months old, but I wanted to take them to the park. So I went to just the park down the street, and I let them play. But I think something had happened where, like, Wyatt had, like, went to the bathroom and I didn't have a diaper or something that was just like, well, crap.
We gotta go home now.
And I remember trying to get her to leave, and she just, the biggest fit ever, and screaming and pushing off of me, throwing herself to the ground, running from me. Like, literally people staring at me like I'm kidnapping her while I'm holding a heavy-ass fucking 8-month-old that don't know how to walk. And at this point, the car feels a mile away. Like, because I have to get from here to the parking lot. And there's one point where, like, when I finally got to the car, I had to sit my baby on the fucking concrete. Just sit him on the ground so that I could put her in the car because she was fighting me. I couldn't even get her buckled while my 8-month-old baby is just sitting on the fucking pavement while other people are still looking at me like I'm kidnapping her. And this, like, it took me, I kid you not, like 20 minutes to get to the car from where the park was.
Because you literally have to, like, drag her.
And I'm trying to carry him and her in one arm, and I'm only so strong, and I just had a baby 8 months ago. I'm still hefty. Like, that's a lot of extra weight that I'm, like, dragging, and it scarred me so bad that I still don't go anywhere with both my kids. I still don't to this day. My kid's about to be 6 and 4. Like, I will not. Like, the only place I will go is to my mom's house or her house. I will not go to a store. I will not go to a park. None of that stuff alone.
Because it's just too hard.
Because I don't know what Ellie I'm going to get.
Yeah, I understand.
And I feel like sometimes it puts me in a position where I have to decide which kid I'll be protecting. Because if she's running in the street, am I leaving my other child? Like, what are my options when it's just me and them? How will I protect them?
Yeah.
Because Ellie's a loose cannon. I
can't imagine, because there's times where I have had to run into the street because she just doesn't grasp the concept that traffic is coming. I can't imagine having another child while doing that, which is partly why we don't have another child. I mean, she started showing signs at 18 months probably that's when the fits started. We thought it was terrible twos. No, it turns out it was autism. But we were like, I can't have a baby and have her screaming for 45 minutes because she can't ride in the cart at the grocery store. Like,
how would you ever get anything done?
No. Like, so we decided, like, we can't have any more because she's too much. What if we have 2 of these? Like, what if we have 2 of her?
Well, that's definitely.
And then I'm like terrified. Like, I can't handle if 2 kids are screaming all the time. Or losing their minds.
Yep. Luckily for Wyatt, he was an accident. or I probably would have made the same decision. Because once you have the diagnosis the first time, you're convinced there's something wrong with your second baby. And Wyatt had a speech delay. And I was like, he's a fucking boy, speech delay. Autism. It looks completely different than Ellie, but it might be. I don't know. He don't talk. Like, I for sure. And then you read the statistics, like, oh my God, it's so much. Once you have one kid, you have a higher chance of having another kid. And then you're at a certain point, you're like, well, last time when I thought something was wrong, it was wrong. Like, so I'm not lucky. He's definitely autistic. And we had to go through same paperwork. We had to go through packets. And eventually we went to a developmental pediatrician. And he was like, no, he's not autistic. He has apraxia.
Yeah.
But no other, like, and I mean, you've met him. He's definitely
not even,
autistic.
No, not even a little bit. He's my buddy.
Mm-hmm. But it was a fear I had. Like, once you have one child with autism. I think
it's definitely like a realistic fear that you look for it now. Mm-hmm. Like,
because the one time you thought something was wrong, it was wrong.
It was wrong.
And now you feel validated.
I was right. So now I'm like, well, I'm batting 1,000 here. So
yeah. And then it's like everything on top of it. So like my Ellie does have a diagnosis of ADHD on top of it. So it's like she's autistic. She has ADHD. She has a sensory processing disorder.
We might be ADHD. We just we've requested the we've requested the paperwork, and I just haven't. I haven't moved on from it. I hate filling out those papers. I hate doing IEP meetings. I hate doing the parent meetings. So my daughter does ABA therapy. Right now she does 9 hours a week, which I know is a lot less than what your Ellie does. We have to do these parent training meetings every 3 months or so where we have to like rate her.
Well, and like in the beginning, it feels like it's constantly taking her places to be judged. Great, because like,
and I hate whenever they ask, they're like, does your child do this? Does she feel pain appropriately? And then the other day, her therapist, who has her supervisor, who knows her, and was like, oh yeah, she does. And I was like, no, she doesn't actually. It has not been uncommon for her to be bleeding, and we didn't notice until we see blood everywhere. It's happened at daycare. She cut herself at the park. Normal thing, right? Kids slide their finger wrong on a slide and they cut themselves. She walked up to her daycare provider, had blood all over her dress because she just kept wiping her hand because her hand was wet. It was bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
No big deal. Like she can like bump her elbow and sob like it's the end of the world. But she can have like a 2nd-degree burn on her foot and we didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. Like,
yeah.
Those are those other things you don't think about that are associated with it.
And I don't know if your little one has this, but she doesn't, we don't think she feels the need to go to the bathroom. We suffer.
I've heard that's happened,
which is normal.
Potty trained an autistic child's the worst thing.
It is a thing.
I've been through.
So she potty trained super, super easy.
Really?
I mean, she was almost 4, so
Mine's a fighter.
She was older, but like we've never had an accident. She's only had an accident at daycare once, and she was sleeping. Like I don't even have clothes at daycare. She had to wear someone else's clothes when she had that accident because she never had a problem. Her clothes that she had there were like 3 sizes too small because I hadn't had to take anything since she potty trained.
Yeah.
But she gets UTIs 4 or 5 times a year.
Just from not going to the bathroom.
She will refuse.
Okay.
Like crying, tears, you need to go potty. My body tells me no. Which is hard as a mom, and as a mom of a daughter, I want her to listen to her body because I want her to know that if her gut is telling her no, you say no. Whether it's if someone's telling you to do something with your body and you're like, oh no, I don't feel comfortable with that. I want you to stick with that. I don't ever want someone to be able to convince you to do something. But then I'm like, but I'm not someone, I'm your mom. So get your butt in there and go pee. Because you haven't, she'll go 8 hours without going to the bathroom. And then when you finally get her to convince to go in there, then she'll go and she like really goes. But it's usually a crying fit. There's bribery that has to be involved. Like sometimes I still feel like I'm potty training.
Mine has the issue with poop. Like she's
Poops.
always constipated all the time. It's a fight to get her to try to go.
She won't tell me when she poops because you don't talk about that. Because she is very rule driven, and like her world, which I think is kind of true for autism, or at least for her, is very black and white. And like I once said, we don't talk about, we don't talk bathroom talk like at the table or whatever. Mm-hmm. She takes that to mean I'm not even allowed to ask her if she needs to potty. Mm-hmm. That's not appropriate, mommy.
Dang.
And she is so, like, I don't think she goes to the bathroom at school because they're told, you need to go at recess or at lunch. Like, try not to go. Not that they are discouraging them, but they encourage, like, don't go during class. Try and go on your breaks. Mm-hmm. Well, to her, she's so literal that means I can only pee on my lunch. So last year when we were still allowed to be in the classroom, I'm in the classroom and I see her doing her little dance that I'm like, you need to go potty. And she's like, Mom, it's class time. I'll wait until lunch. And I'm like, you're about to pee your pants. Like, go potty. And she's like, I don't need to. And finally her teacher's like, is everything okay? As I'm like, kind of having like a whispering argument with her, not letting the rest of her class know that I'm like, you need to go pee.
Yeah.
Because her classmates are like 3 feet away from us.
Yeah.
And her teacher's like, is everything okay? I'm like, she needs to go to the bathroom. And she's like, honey, you can go potty right now. And she's like, no, I'll wait till lunch.
Okay,
and I'm like,
lunch, ding, ding.
But she knows the time. So she's like,
Couldn't even lie to her.
no, you can't, because she's so like.
I wonder if that, because my Ellie will hold her pee for a long time. Like, I don't think it's like, a lot of times when she has to go pee, it's one of those like, I gotta go now.
And that's how we end up, where it's like she's running, pants are down in the hallway. Like.
Yeah, like we had to, because I'm very afraid of the bathroom for her. Like, we had to create a social story because there's little stuff that she doesn't understand. Like, she doesn't understand that you can't just like get naked before you're in the bathroom. Like, she don't get that.
Like
she doesn't understand that she needs to get fully dressed before she can leave the bathroom. Like, those.
She's like, my mind is gone. Like, I peed.
Like,
let's move on.
There's been incidents where like I'm at Justine's house or the kids
and she'll come out naked.
Yeah, and then like of course other kids notice and they say something, and it's like. It's those extra things that you don't realize you got to teach them because it doesn't come natural to them.
Yes.
Like most kids would understand, like, oh, I need to put my clothes back on because I had clothes when I came on in here.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't come easy for her, like, and kids like her.
And it's hard when like when you say that you just have to teach them things that you don't think you have to teach. Sometimes it's the littlest things, like we have to take turns, or sometimes in a board game, you don't get to move forward 5 spaces. Sometimes you have to go back 1. Like sometimes when you're playing Chutes and Ladders, you have to go down the slide.
I feel like she'd make me not want to play games with her.
But we have to. Well, so she does ABA, and a big part of her ABA is that they do kind of pick at the things, poke the bear. They want her to have a reaction.
So they can teach her how to
teach her how to deal with it. The reason I'm okay with ABA, and I know I may receive a lot of hate for this, is that I want her to learn how to do that. And I would rather she learn at home in a safe environment where mommy is there to give her a hug when she's sad that she had to go down the slide at playing Chutes and Ladders or whatever the issue is. I'd rather it happen in front of us than for it to happen in the middle of her classroom with kids that are going to remember it for the next 7 years. She'll always be known as that kid lost it when we played Go Fish in 1st grade because I took her card from her.
Yep.
Like, who wants to be known as the kid that flipped a desk?
Yeah.
Which is what could
happen.
And most likely happen. Like, she would lose her shit. So I'd rather her lose her shit at home in a controlled environment.
The other kid thing is really hard for me to deal with. Like, I am very protective like every other mother, and seeing her in situations where like I feel like I see someone whispering about her or someone not being nice to her, not including her. Like, I'm a bitch. I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be one of those moms that just let society happen. No, I see you being a little jerk over there. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So why don't you change your attitude? Or you can tell mommy to come to me. I'm okay with that.
I will take mom out.
Like, so I'm really trying to take a step back of trying not to be so defensive in those situations, but it's not second nature.
I
to me.
try, and I think that sometimes you just have to. I think that I can be too sensitive.
Me too.
That they're being mean because she's autistic, and I'm like, are they being mean because she's autistic, or are they being mean because that kid's actually a shithead? Or like, is it something as minor as like, am I being sensitive because she's autistic? And I think
It's a fine line.
that like they're not letting her go first, and I'm like, ooh, but they're kids too, and they want to go first in a game, or
I love that.
that did nothing for you.
I'm very disappointed. No, but
So
I understand that.
It's hard to know, like, is it them? Is it the autism? Am I just being too sensitive? But
Well, like, what I hate is half the time my Ellie won't notice.
Yeah.
She doesn't notice when someone's being mean to her.
100%.
She doesn't notice if she's being excluded because she's always just, like, independent and does her own thing. Like, she wants to do what she wants to do. She don't give a shit what anyone else is doing.
Yeah.
She doesn't need anyone doing it with her. And she's okay with that. So she, half the time, doesn't notice. But I notice. Because I'm sensitive about
yeah,
it. Because I'm trying to protect
you're like,
her from these.
and you're like looking out for it. I feel like you.
I want to
I
stop
do
it because I don't
Yeah.
know when she'll start to notice. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, she probably will notice that they treat her different.
Yeah.
Or that she is different. And I guess I want to prolong that as long as I can.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than seeing someone be mean to your kid or exclude your kid or notice that they're different.
Yeah.
Because they notice.
I think it's hard for me too because my daughter is so unbelievably kind. She wants to be everyone's friend. She has won an award both years in school for outstanding student because she's kind and she's friends with everyone. And I'm like, well, I guess it's good that she is kind and friends with everyone because I'm like, well, then they'll be nice to her. Because, like, you can't be mean to the nice kid.
Right.
I mean, kids are assholes, though.
But, like,
I was gonna say,
I'm hoping that because she's, like, the nicest kid in the class, that everyone's like, okay, well, we really can't be, like, that mean to Ellie because she is nice.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I have made it a point to become friends with some of her fellow students' parents. And I'm like, well,
They'll be less
if-
likely to let their kid be mean to my
100%.
kid.
I'm like, and I've told them that. I'm like, well, you know, I'm friends with you. So Drew is going to know that maybe he needs to be more patient with her when they are in middle school. And maybe Drew will still walk with her to school and know that, like, she's different, but she's my friend. And maybe she's my friend because our moms are friends. But I've now been friends with her since kindergarten. So, like, I've just accepted.
It's like having a little sister walking around.
Exactly. Like, I've accepted that this girl's, like, just my weirdo friend. And I'm okay with that. And I'm good with that. Like, I don't care if she's the weird friend. I just want there to be the word friend
Yeah.
in the scenario.
But let's do some bull questions. It says if you were on death row, what would be your last meal?
Oh, this one's easy for me.
Okay.
What? I was like, no, she.
I know. Fried chicken. Drumsticks. Fried drumsticks. My mom's baked beans. Macaroni salad mixed together.
That is super specific.
This is my favorite meal of
This
this is the meal I get for every single birthday. So if I'm gonna die, it's probably what I want. And then I want some strawberry shortcake and some cotton candy with a margarita
And some cotton candy.
That sounds good. Okay, so
and some peeps.
I know dessert automatically creme brulee.
Yum.
Gotta be creme
That's
brulee.
your jam.
Delish.
That I better be able to crack that and it sound like glass.
You haven't made that in a long
I
time.
have not,
You
but I
should do
have
that.
had it recently because it's a lot of process. I need to make it. I make a bomb creme brulee. So definitely dessert. Obviously a classic marg on ice, no salt, because that's like my go-to drink. Maybe a blackberry one at this point, but definitely margarita because it's a favorite alcoholic beverage. But I would kind of like want some pizza.
Okay.
I love pizza. I would want some pizza. I would want 2 chalupas from Taco Bell, chicken with tomato.
Okay.
So, and then I would also want, what else? I would want a big ass like
having a spread.
chocolate chip cookie.
Well, if you're
like,
gonna
from
die,
Mrs. Fields.
You
know
don't
what I mean?
need your pants to fit the next day.
Yeah. So pizza, two chalupas, the Mrs. Fields cookie cake with my name on it, and creme brulee, and one margarita.
What if we got it to say R.I.P.?
I would appreciate the pun. I feel like that would be the way I'd want to die.
With a tombstone?
Eat it just knowing you're about to die.
I'm like, this is appropriate. Mrs. Fields for life.
Yeah.
Giant ass cookies. Do they make those anymore?
Fucking love cookies.
I mean, can you go to the mall anymore?
Right?
I miss the
I
mall.
told Kurt that for my birthday this year. I do want a giant cookie cake.
All right.
Okay.
I do. I want, and then I don't want to share it.
So you'll have
I
your
just,
own.
I just want my own.
I want a hotel
big-ass
room
cookie
by myself.
You know.
with a cookie cake.
Right?
Well, I like strawberry
and
shortcake, so I'd
whatever
rather
you
have
want
that.
on
but-
TV.
Yes.
With no commercials.
I have
And
Hulu.
it better not be
I
a
have Hulu
child's
Premium.
commercial. If
No
I have to see a
child's
child
commercial. No
show
child
in the middle
show.
of my show,
No child's music.
like I don't want to be reminded I have children. Like I want one
Yeah.
night where it's just me
Yeah.
with a bath bomb from Plush or Lush.
Lush.
Yeah. Yes.
Ooh, with a jacuzzi tub.
Told you I'm a flight risk right now.
You're like, I'm leaving.
I'm going to a hotel right now.
So what would your meal be?
Ooh, so mine's Mexican.
Okay.
Love me some Mexican spread food. That, but then a gyro popped in my head. I love me a fucking gyro.
I mean, it's your last meal. I feel like you
You
can
could do both.
variety.
Yeah,
I mean, can I add
probably
a
do
taco to
both.
mine? Because I feel like I want a Jim Boy's chicken taco added on the side.
Yep.
Yes.
All degrees.
Yes.
Yep. So mine would be Mexican. I want a gyro, and mine would probably be the BJ's.
Oh,
With the
cookies.
pizookie?
Well, that's all for today's episode of Sippin and Dishin. This is part 1 with Becky. If you enjoyed this episode, please go rate, review, or subscribe. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.
Bye.